The story of the Etzel siblings, Oberon, Kesar, and Scarlett, weaves through history and the legends of their knightly orders. The brothers, once loyal to King Xenom, each parted ways due to differences in their own ideals and the king's political intrigues. The eldest, Oberon, ambitious and cunning, founded the Order of the Falcon in Edron, where he discovered a page from an ancient mystical book. As a collector of arcane artifacts and a scholar of ancient magic, Oberon was renowned for his ability to counteract evil spells. This page contained a teleportation spell of immense power, leading Oberon and his order to perform a nocturnal ritual to travel to the uncharted lands of Zhao, hoping to establish a fortress on that virgin terrain. Several expeditions were launched, but one ended in tragedy when 2 members of the order fell to wild beasts, contracting an unknown plague ravaging those lands, known as Ravus, the Grey Plague. Rumors arose, suggesting the teleportation spell was a dark practice, and that the Order had violated its code by performing a forbidden rite. Despite the controversy, the Grand Chaplain initiated a search to find and secure the Spatial Warp Almanac, the book from which the page originated. The mission included a vow to protect the book from being used for evil. Oberon, known for his resistance to corrupt magic, was appointed guardian of the artifact. After obtaining the enigmatic book, a dark, foul-smelling substance began to emanate from the tombs of those fallen in Zhao, triggering an uncontrollable spread of the Grey Plague. It first afflicted the Order's deceased, then its living members and guests of a nocturnal celebration. The once noble Order transformed into a legion of undead, victims of the plague. Scarlett, along with her order, left her hometown on a mission to eradicate ancient cursed relics. In this adventure, a crucial figure emerges in the story: Galthan, a brilliant strategist and her most loyal companion. Throughout their journey, ancient guardians of long-forgotten cults, powerful secret societies, and remnants of lost civilizations crossed their path on the quest to track down cursed relics. When they reached such an artifact, it was destroyed without hesitation. After years of tireless campaigns and challenging battles, Galthan and Scarlett developed a deep and special bond, but they never confessed their mutual love. After 2 consecutive failed campaigns, the morale of the Order declined. Galthan proposed changing tactics, but his ideas clashed with Scarlett's principles, sparking a heated debate that culminated in Galthan's departure. In an attempt to rectify her mistake, Scarlett adapted her strategy, seeking not only relics but also Galthan. Desperate, she began to recruit bandits, mercenaries, and assassins, blurring the ideals and integrity of her order. On an expedition, Scarlett discovered a powerful artifact in a crypt, an amulet guarded by a cobra sculpture. The inscription warns, "The bearer of the amulet will acquire the sight, endurance, and lethality of the cobra, but what their heart most desires, the cobra will conceal." Upon taking the amulet, Scarlett was overwhelmed by its power and was unable to destroy it. With the abilities granted by the amulet, Scarlett could see infinitely through the material plane and was immune to poisons, diseases, and decay. The Order, under the symbol of the cobra, began looting tombs and temples dishonorably, selling artifacts instead of destroying them. However, Scarlett failed to understand the true curse of the amulet. Now she can see everything, except for what she most desires and treasures in her heart. Kesar, father of Kesar the Younger, led the Order of the Lion and established a bastion on the island of Bunak, a place soon enshrouded in mystery. Everything seemed to indicate that Kesar would be the only brother without a tragic end. However, the apparent family curse would manifest, but not directly upon the king of the Order. An ancient and enigmatic cult loomed over princesses and noble women who inexplicably disappeared after following a dark path from which they never returned. The tranquility of the Order of the Lion was disrupted when one of the knights fell in love with a pregnant princess, a love they had to keep secret due to the circumstances. After the birth of the child, the knight discovered his wife sleepwalking, murmuring in an unknown language, as if trapped in a lucid dream. Upon waking her, she reacted with unprecedented violence before recognizing him. At this crucial point, a noble wandering knight arrived in Bunak, Galthan. After separating from Scarlett, the noble knight was in search of artifacts and answers about the mysterious ritual affecting noblewomen. Upon learning about the young couple's situation, he identified the ritual and performed a blessing to counteract it. However, the fate of the princess was sealed, and she disappeared shortly after giving birth. Galthan, realizing what had happened, advised the father to take good care of his newborn daughter, but the tragic cycle repeated. Upon reaching adulthood, the girl, now a mother, also disappeared after giving birth, perpetuating the strange ritual once again. This newborn granddaughter was Iselda herself, who fell in love with Kesar the Younger, and before giving birth, also disappeared. The key to the mysterious ritual lay in a metamorphosis. At the moment of childbirth, the affected women transformed into trees for some strange reason. With a better understanding of these stories, we can now speculate more about the prime artifacts. As we know, there are 7 such artifacts. But what exactly are their origins and purposes? In-game, there are only scant explicit explanations offering glimpses into the nature of these relics. In the Bunak library, Galthan left behind a book that sheds some light on their origin and purpose. Galthan noted that our world is filled with varied magical objects, some easily counteracted, while others are imbued with malevolence and pure chaos. However, he identified another category of artifacts, distinct from those previously mentioned, seemingly originating from a time-space continuum predating our known world. Galthan dedicated his life to finding and neutralizing these artifacts, dubbing them prime artifacts. Although he admitted his limited understanding of their true purpose and origins, he was certain of one thing. These artifacts possess an unfathomable power to distort and corrupt, leading to purely destructive consequences. Let's delve into the stories of these artifacts. The Cobra Amulet, for instance, directly influences its bearer, providing infinite vision over the physical plane and granting near immortality, yet forbidding the wearer from seeing what is treasured in their heart, as in Scarlett's case. The Spatial Warp Almanac is a device capable of distorting time, essentially acting as a means of teleportation, used notably by Oberon. As for the Ring of Ending, it's an artifact with immense power over life and death. Its assembly involves a broken Ring of Ending, obtained from a creature called Yelothax from another dimension, and the String of Mending, which seals the ring, transforming it into the Ring of Ending. A ship captain named Marv acquired this ring through a wager. Upon arriving in Roshamul with his crew, they were the first to cross the Great Wall of Roshamul, where he obtained a rope to complete the ring's assembly. Captain Marv was corrupted by acquiring the ring, leading him to torture his companions. One of these tormented companions, who scattered bottles across Roshamul, reveals the location of his body and some writings describing these events. Surprisingly, this tortured and deceased crewman, Zedrulon the Fallen, can be found alive in Roshamul. He claims to have died, but somehow returned to life, now feeling compelled to guard the temple of Roshamul. Despite this discovery, and the speculation that the ring might control its bearer's minds, the full impact and consequences of this ring remain a mystery. Another artifact known as the Cube remains an enigma. However, gaining the ability to interact with it has led us to more substantial conclusions. We know that the Planegazers, mentioned in the previous video, possessed an incomplete cube. This is confirmed when defeating the last Planegazer, who drops the incomplete cube as loot. This leads us to believe that the Planegazers never succeeded in completing the artifact, unlike us players who assembled the full cube in the Opticording Sphere quest. Intriguingly, the missing piece of the cube was in Galthan's possession, found in his tomb in Edron. At one point in his studies, Galthan mentioned encountering a Planegazer in Carlin. It remains unknown whether Galthan intentionally withheld the cube's missing part from the Planegazer to prevent its completion, or if he acquired the cube from the Planegazer. What we can ascertain about the cube is that it contains a different dimension within. This is evident from the fact that we can use it to sleep in our home, transporting us to another realm. Another prime artifact is the True Book of Death, in the possession of Brokil, a member of the Deathling race. The Deathlings are precursors to the current Deepling race. Once surface dwellers in ancient times, they passed their world-conquering will to their descendants. Their motives remain enigmatic, but for some reason, they are far more aggressive than the Deeplings and do not share their descendants' way of life, as evidenced in battles between them. For example, in the Secret Library quest, we help repair ancient Deepling idols to regain their consciousness, and the Deepling aid us in defeating Brokil. The fact that Brokil possesses the True Book of Death is telling. As we learned in the Black Liquid quest, Legados, a chronicler, wrote the Books of Death, describing a transformation in the Deeplings. Someone manipulated them, denying their involvement in wars, subjecting them to oppression, and destroying knowledge in their sacred libraries. Likely, This manipulator is Navigator. As discussed in the previous video, this character impersonates King Tuyel, manipulating the aquatic race at his will. This suggests that the true Book of Death could contain the real intentions behind Navigator and might detail information about an even more formidable external force manipulating Navigator and the Deeplings for its own ends. Now, Scarlett's messages about Navigator and Cobra Bastion might make more sense, but we will explore this further later. The Mega Sylvan Sapling is another artifact, obtained by defeating Iselda, Kesar's wife, who underwent a transformation before giving birth to her children. While the understanding and purpose of this specific artifact remain enigmatic, allow me to speculate on some theories. The Dryads, seen as nature's protectors, are rumored to occasionally kidnap humans and transform them into trees, despite their benign nature. This aligns with what happened to Iselda and her noble lineage of princesses. This suggests that such a ritual might only be possible since their noble blood. Therefore, the Mega Sylvan Sapling might represent an artifact designed to balance life. Just as Galthan wrote, good and evil are merely moral concepts adopted by humanity. However, the consequences of these artifacts can be harmful, as seen in Iselda's transformation. The Living Idol of Tuk is one of the most recently known Prime artifacts. Although I haven't been able to delve deeply into its background due to its recent introduction, there are some insights I can offer about this particular artifact. One notable point is that Scarlett, during one of her expeditions, likely plundered the treasures of Ixupan. This is evidenced in the treasure room of Cobra Bastion, where a living idol of Tuk is found. A document in this room reveals an incident involving the treasurer of the Order and some looted treasures in Cobra Bastion, linked to a mysterious event involving gold. Today, we know that there is a curse in Cobra Bastion, specifically tied to this room, where casting a gold coin lifts the curse. It's probable that the living idol of Tuk is responsible for this curse, which, according to my research, increases the likelihood of encountering ugly monsters in the boss's room in Cobra Bastion. This could explain the presence of ancient ugly monsters in Ixupan, as they might be part of the same curse. The designation ancient implies that the curse originated there. Similarly, in the Cube Quest, we encounter a living idol of Tuk, where ugly monsters also appear. The fact that this bizarre creature drops Cobra items suggests that Scarlett's Order created this curse, and these creatures are former members of the Cobra Order. While I can't confirm this theory with absolute certainty, and it might be attributed to coincidences or other circumstances, it warrants further investigation. Another case deserving deep investigation involves the boss Gafir in Cobra Bastion. Upon defeating Gafir, his body appears still alive. The displayed message indicates that only his mortal shell has died, but his bones remain alive, suggesting we should burn them. Throwing Gafir's body into the fire teleports us to a mysterious secret room. This fact is widely known, but what caught my attention is a book similar to the Spatial Warp Almanac found there, but this one is named the Time Distort Almanac. As we know, the Spatial Warp Almanac distorts space, suggesting the Time Distort Almanac facilitate time travel. Interestingly, this secret room is in Zhao, near a map with a cobra drawn on it, and in the same location where the Order of the Falcons found the Spatial Warp Almanac, which is clearly no coincidence. In Gafir's secret room, the Spatial Warp Almanac is the only known way to transport us to a strange dimension near the Yellowthax in Zhao, where we get the Avid Reader achievement. Intriguingly, the document obtained in Gafir's secret room suggests that the Avid Reader will find several references to the Spatial Warp Almanac and its potential uses. This led me to some fascinating conclusions, admittedly complex to explain though. Only by burning Gafir's body do we truly kill him, opening a portal that sends us to a location with the Time Distort Almanac. Using the Spatial Warp Almanac there physically transports us to another part of Zhao. So consider this. What happens when you combine a book that distorts time with one that distorts space? You essentially travel back in time and to a different location. Entering Gafir's secret room means going back in time, and using the Spatial Warp Almanac moves you through space in that altered timeline. Is this verifiable? Absolutely. Transporting to the dimension with parcels, a message appears. Warping time, space, and several other physical constructs of this world, you enter a quite strange dimension. This confirms that you are indeed traveling through time and space. Additionally, we know that in this dimension, we find Yellowthax and the boss Raging Mage. The Raging Mage has a story tied to the Colors of Magic event, mentioning 3 mages who were friends. One is the Mad Mage of Edron, while another is the Raging Mage in Zhao. The later was dedicated to bending the planes of time, perfectly aligning with our previous discussion. This implies that we can indeed change the game's timelines through certain actions. Furthermore, sacrificing the Cobra Amulet in the crypt where Scarlett found it transforms it into an item called Note About Two Souls. This action changes Scarlett's timeline from the moment she first took the amulet. Consequently, everything that happens to Scarlett and Galthan from then on changes on their timeline. One visible change known until now involves removing root barriers in Cobra Bastion. But following this logic, if we can alter Scarlett's timeline and travel back in time, it implies the potential to uncover more information if we sacrifice the amulet, possibly accessing unknown locations. Therefore, it's highly probable that a quest related to the Cobra Amulet is still waiting to be discovered.